That's all the pets we
Oh
have.
yeah.
We have 3 cats and 1 dog and 1 snake.
Famous last words.
So yeah, we have
Yeah.
many. Hi
Yeah.
to all the people. Okay, I
Okay,
think we're on. We're
we're
ready.
on. We're officially, this will
Yep.
be our official start point.
Whoop.
Juliana, thank you so much for joining us. Like you and I did a Zoom together. It's been a few years now, and
Yeah.
you're just such a, I feel like I could talk to you forever and pick your brain because you have so much knowledge to share. But if you don't mind just introducing yourself and give us a little background on you, that'd be great.
Yeah, thank you, Carrie. It's so nice to chat again. Like it is crazy to think that the last time we met was so many years ago and since then we've, stayed so connected. You wrote a book, I wrote a book, like and I've just learned how on the same page we about training stuff, behavior stuff, our relationship with dogs. So it's just been such a treat to be able to stay close with you and do this. Yeah, my name is Juliana DeWillems. I'm a certified dog trainer and certified dog behavior consultant. I own the company JW Dog Training, which if you guys follow Carrie on Instagram, I do a lot on Instagram so that you might know my handle, JW Dog Training.
You
And
will follow her, I promise you.
we're in the Washington, D.C. area. We see clients for everything from reactivity. We're into more specialized services these days. So reactivity, separation anxiety, grooming and vet care, any type of, we're now starting to learn the intersection between pain and behavior. So we've got a service on that. And then of course, helping folks raise their puppies in their adolescence. So we do in person in Alexandria, Virginia, but everything else is virtual. And as you've been so great to share with your audience, virtual is very effective and a really great way to work with really great trainers, especially if you don't have one in your area.
Will you also just comment on your app because your app is absolutely amazing and I've posted it a couple times, but I know that people need to see things a lot of times and
Yeah.
I think it's a tremendous resource.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about this. Yes, I just talked about all of our specialty services, and those are so important. And I know that they're very expensive. And so, for a lot of people, really good training can just not be in the budget right now, not be something that they have access to. So, I made a dog training app. It's called Dog Training Plus. You can get it in the Google App Store and the Apple App Store. And it's a low monthly subscription fee to have access to the lessons in the app. And what was really important to me to keep it easy, short and sweet. So all the videos lessons are under 10 minutes. Most of them are closer to like 5 or 7 minutes. So when you have a few minutes, you can sit down, watch one on the behavior you're trying to either work on or you want to learn more about. And it's really just ways to get like everything that's in my brain about dog training to the people in a way that is accessible for them. And I finally have somewhere where I can put everything. I think I don't know if you had this experience, but writing a book was really nice because I could finally like put all my thoughts in one place. And that's what this app feels like as well, that I want everyone who's training to know this, and this mechanical thing, or like this way to deliver treats. And I just put it all in the app. So a labor of love, but I really love it. And thank you again for giving me a chance to talk about it.
It's really, it's really well done. You did a great job.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we should say, for those of you who have not ever joined us, this is my friend Aly, who does an amazing job. Will you explain what you do with the questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so my job is we have you oftentimes write in your questions, different things you want to ask for the hosts that we have. And so I have a whole list of them here on a couple pages, and we're going to first go through these. And then if you want to leave questions in the Q&A section, not the webinar chat, but the Q&A, I've got that pulled up and I'm watching that. And if we can get to it, then we'll get to it. Sometimes we can only get to a few, sometimes we can get to all of them. It just depends on how our time goes. And my role is just to ask questions and moderate. And then sometimes I give my 2 cents, which usually I don't have that much 2 cents about.
I love it when you give your 2
Sometimes I give
cents.
my 2 cents. So yeah, I like to pop in with my ideas sometimes too. Okay, and usually what we like to do is we just start with some fun lightning round questions where I'm just going to ask a couple of you a few things that have nothing to do really with anything other than we're just going to get to know you, because people that usually tune into these, like, we kind of like to know. I want to know things about people, and most people, other people do too. So here we go. Okay, and then both of you will answer. So, and we'll start with you. I'm going to ask you, and then you can answer, then you can answer. Okay. Prefer the mountains or the beach?
Mountains.
Mountains.
Oh, beach.
Hands down. I already know. Okay, summer or winter?
Winter.
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 Yeah, I don't like sweating.
I know. You know
Exactly.
what? You can be friends with us because we do not like sweating either. Just wait till menopause comes, honey. Then you're really gonna hate it. You're gonna need to be like your own personal summer. Yeah, I feel like it's not even that. It's like a volcano that begins to erupt from within.
Oh, great.
Your whole body into the freezer. Don't even worry, it's coming. Okay.
Great.
What's your power song? Like, what do you listen to when you're like,
Oh.
I gotta get in my mood?
Anything Taylor Swift, probably. So it depends on her. It depends on my mood, and Tortured Poets Department, definitely her latest album. There are a lot of songs in there that I like to really yell to.
Rock it out.
And my son and my niece both nieces have gotten me into Taylor Swift.
Ooh,
U2's always my jam.
Oh,
too.
U2.
Yeah.
YouTube is a good jam. Okay. Are you scared of sharks?
from a distance, no. If I was in the water with them, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. We were just talking about that because we go to Hawaii and I have to manage my brain really.
Mhm.
I really have to just kind of stay in a certain space because I love the water, but I am
know.
definitely afraid.
You need somebody to counter condition you.
Exactly.
You do not be so afraid.
Because
Yeah.
I am scared. I'm thinking, okay, well, I don't think any sharks will come in if I'm just up to my knees or maybe my waist, and I might look like a little treat. So
Yeah, right.
I'm afraid.
snack.
I could be a little snack.
Mhm.
No, I'm terrified of sharks.
Yeah.
I am absolutely afraid to death of them. Okay, and my youngest is not. She's obsessed. She's obsessed. Clicker training for shark fear. We need a clicker training.
Yes, totally.
Really on out there,
I
just
know.
clicking.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And what treat would you have? Would you go
I
salty?
was gonna say, well, when we think about valuable reinforcers, we might think food would be good enough for a shark, but I might need to be out there offering you $100 bills to get
Okay,
you
money would be
access.
more. If you could offer me dollar bills, I'd be really
Right. Then you're like, okay, which is
Uh,
there's a dog training lesson in there.
exactly. But what would you pick, salty or sweet? Besides money, I mean money first, but
Oh,
salty or sweet.
I'm sweet all day long.
I know this.
Mhm.
Go ahead. What about you? Would you prefer a salty or sweet?
I always said sweet, but these days it's been salty. Again, kind of depends.
Okay.
Yes.
Salty and sweet together.
Oh,
There's
there's
that.
that.
Yeah.
That's the combo. That is
Yeah.
okay. And Rudy just told us that we're more likely to die from a falling coconut hitting our head than a shark bite. And I really appreciate that, Rudy, because I have fear. That might be a good little training. Okay, well, let's do one more and then we'll get into it. What's a hobby that you took up as an adult?
Oh.
App development.
App development.
Exactly. So I was thinking, like,
I love it.
funny is like people will ask me like, who are you using for like your reels, or who are you using for
Right,
your, and I'm like,
right.
You're looking at her,
Content create, right. Video editing,
all of it, right?
photo taking.
Yeah.
Yes, totally.
Photo
Yeah.
taking, things I just
Yeah,
didn't expect.
exactly.
Yes.
Mhm.
Writing books.
Right. No, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. Although I was recently thinking, I did piano lessons as a kid, and I think I would like to like tinker.
You would.
I
That's
would.
Cool.
You can tinker on.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to tinker with the piano. So
Okay.
You should.
Maybe I'll
Yeah.
hold
Habits are it's so good, especially for those of us where like our work overlaps with the stuff that we love, like your work is in your house all the time with your dogs, and then so to do something, and I don't know if you feel this, but to do something totally not dog related is very good for my brain sometimes. Like one thing I did just take up, which this feels more like exercising than a hobby, but I just started Pilates and I'm like obsessed. And so, but that feels really good for like my work-life balance.
yes, yes.
for sure. It's
Mhm.
just you have to focus on the pain.
Right. Totally. The pain takes me out of the
Yes.
spiraling about work. So I like it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. Well, let's get into it. Okay, Lisa. Lisa says she swims with the sharks in Hawaii. Lisa, kudos. All I have to say, because that ain't me. I'm not the one or the two. Okay, ready? Here we go. Let's talk about barking. One of the people that wrote in said, how can humans help to reduce barking? Like this person says, I get that dogs bark, dogs do dog things, but they really want to hear strategies about reducing barking every time a dog is startled or sees something move or hears something outside. How do we teach a different first response?
What I really liked about that question is they already have gone to the identification of what is causing the barking. Because dogs bark for all different reasons. Dogs can bark because they want something. Dogs can bark because they're frustrated, with which Carrie, you just posted today. Dogs can bark when they're startled. Dogs can bark when they feel threatened. And all of those different reasons are going to be handled in different ways. And this is why it's a really hard question. How do I get my dog to bark less? Well, because there's a bazillion different factors and reasons for barking that will influence how and why we train the behavior. But so yes, okay, there's a number of reasons that you would address specifically dogs who bark at sounds, things that they hear and things that they see. And the first line of defense is something called management, which I wrote a book about, which is essentially if they're barking at stuff that they see and hear, can you change the environment to eliminate the things that they're seeing and hearing? Which you might be thinking, okay, well, that's not training the behavior. And absolutely it's not. And for a lot of people, it could potentially solve the problem, meaning you close your blinds, that's a temporary solution. You put up window film, which is a more long-term solution. It still lets light in, but your dog can't see out. You play music in the afternoons, when the school bus comes by and all the kids are walking by and your dog is usually barking, going crazy. Just, turn on your favorite show or your favorite music on Alexa. So basically eliminate the cues that are currently causing your dog to bark, and that can solve a lot of your problems. When you are ready to train, then basically you want to think of, okay, I don't want barking. What do I want instead? Quiet usually. So you want to reward your dog a lot for noticing stuff while being quiet. And that usually is just going to mean catching them the instant they notice something, but before they bark.
I want to follow up on that, because, people ask, I often get asked, can I train my 3-year-old this? Can I train my 6-year-old this? And I've always said, I even say it in Puppy Brain, like you don't know until you try with any particular dog what they're capable of. But I am finding myself asking myself now, is Fritz capable of this? Because we were just talking about, he's so vocal, like
Yeah.
all the time, like, and it's not vocal, like barking, like he'll just be like, rah, rah, rah. Like he's a very expressive dog vocally.
Yeah.
And then sometimes that's barking. And so one of the things that like we had the book event last week, and Aly and I, we're in front of a room of people, and John had Fritz outside, and I'm like, oh, that's Fritz barking.
Oh,
He's just probably barking at like somebody walking past, like, hey,
Pet me.
did you pet me?
Would you like to?
right.
Or
I'd like a
maybe
pet.
John wasn't paying, like, so like, for a dog that has that, it's so ingrained in him that I do wonder, like, am I going to see improvement with him? And I know I'm asking you like the impossible question, but like,
Right. What's the crystal ball say?
what does the crystal ball say about
Yes,
Fritz?
please.
Or a dog who just is such a vocal dog that their go-to is a bark? What do we help speak to?
Yeah, right. But yeah. So I think it's totally a balance between what you've just talked about, which is like seeing your dog for who they are. And absolutely, they're just going to be dogs who are barkier, who are more talkative, who go to vocalizing much more quickly and frequently than another dog, even of the same breed, even of the same litter. So dogs are all individuals, and some are just going to be, like you said, chattier. The other factor is like, how much effort does somebody want to put into it, or how many resources do they have to put into it? Because from what you're saying, Fritz has this large array of things that he barks at or circumstances he barks under, and all of those need training in order to address. And so, do you want to always, the person who has his leash, always be coaching them on what to reward, what to do if he barks? Like, it's a lot of effort. So it's totally doable. And I think absolutely you would aim to see the markers that we tend to tell people to look for is less intensity and less frequency of barking. So it's not that you're ever going to eliminate his barking altogether, but can we maybe get him to bark a little bit less? And if he does bark, get him to stop more quickly and recover or redirect back to you more quickly.
That's good. That's good, because it's truthfully, like, I'm thinking about doing therapy work with him, and obviously I don't want to take him into certain environments and have him barking in those environments.
Right.
So even if like my training, if I'm focused on like that his brain begins to wire, oh, in these environments, I'm going to do something different than maybe he's freer at home, or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's right. Like, can you can you go into specific situations, right? Like every time you're doing any type of therapy practice, like whether it's the certain environments you're in, or like certain gear he's wearing, or certain types of outings, it's something that he can always pair as like, this is what I'm training. This is when I'm quiet. I will get a ton of rewards for being quiet. I know I'm going to offer these behaviors, which access these reinforcers. And so, yes, in other scenarios, he might still use his voice freely, but under specific scenarios where you've told him this behavior results in this desirable consequence, you can start to shape his behavior specifically in those. And then you're not feeling like you're having to do it 24/7, because that's the thing, is it's exhausting. It's so and daunting, for, again, you're listing, he barks under this, and then to think, oh my God, I have to train around all those, like, that's a lot. So you want to find really specific scenarios to train.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
That's good.
I want to there's a really good barking article, and I'm trying to put it into the chat, but I don't know if I have access to the chat, or if anybody else
And I
is.
think that we're in Q&A and not in chat, but if you want to
The
even
Q&A I don't think you
in one
guys can see each other. Meaning I don't think the attendees can.
you want to put it into the webinar chat, I can copy and paste it and probably put it into the Q&A.
Okay. So this is an article from Kiki Yablon, who's a dog trainer. And if it doesn't make its way to attendees today, Carrie, you can throw it up in your stories afterwards. But this is a really great article called for a protocol called Thanks for Barking. And it's a way to deal with alarm barking, which is that, like, I'm startled at something, so I'm barking. Usually in the house, it could be in the car, other areas, but Kiki breaks it down really well, how to do it and why you do it that way. And for anybody who's worried about, like, well, if I call my dog back to me after they're barking, does that reward the barking? She goes into all of that in a way that's much more thorough than I can even do here.
And she's great, by the way, for everybody just to know. Kiki is an excellent trainer to follow. I do want to ask you, because I know I just don't want to forget to ask you this.
That did not work.
Will you say what your credentials are? And when people are looking for a dog trainer, how they, like, one thing I do, I'll just buzz through and look for, are there e-collars and there prong collars? Like, something I just can real quick look on somebody's website and see if they're using it. And if they are, then I move on looking for somebody else. But can you help equip people to look for a trainer that's going to use positive reinforcement, but that they can feel like confidence in what they're seeing?
Man, I will say the training world is the wild, wild west for dog owners trying to navigate. And I really empathize for all of you who are trying to do right by your dogs and find qualified professionals who will not use any harm when teaching your dogs. And essentially you want to look for any type of credentials is, like, really the lowest bar. So somebody who says, like, I've had dogs for 20 years and I went to this seminar, like, they might be a good trainer, but unless they have some type of credential that leads back to official education or official testing, where they are held to the standards of completing continuing education every couple of years and making sure they maintain that continuing education, there's just no way to know if anybody is any good. So, and unfortunately, on the other hand, somebody being certified also isn't a guarantee, but it at least gives you a starting point. So, any type of, like, certified dog trainers, certified dog behavior consultant. There's a bunch of acronyms that I can tell you to look for. IAABC is a really good one. CPDT is okay. I teach and have a certification through the Karen Pryor Academy. So these all sound like just mumbled, letters to everyone. But I would say, at the bare minimum, look for some type of official credentials.
And let's say someone wants to get certified with Karen Pryor Academy, which is you're one of the instructors, faculty then for KPA. What is required of someone who wants to get certified, as just so people understand what they're getting when they find a trainer who has the KPA initials?
Yeah, KPA's program. So we are an actual school, and you go through a program at 6 months that has workshops and testing and a ton of hands-on training requirements. And then there's a final assessment to pass. And so that they have the that whole 6 months of education and being coached by another trainer. So that's going through a school to get certified. And the KPA itself is a very rigorous program. And there are a few other ones. There's like called the Academy from Jean Donaldson. There's the Victoria Stilwell Academy. And that's where you pay to go through a school. And what's really important about that, though, is just because you pay does not mean you pass. And that can be a big difference between a lot of programs. Some programs have that. If you pass and you do the 6 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, whatever, then you get, like your certificate of completion, or they call you certified regardless of how you did. So that is not the case with KPA. You do have to meet specific standards. So again, you kind of got to dig just a little bit deeper when you see
I know that's
schools.
That's an
That's a
interesting
new piece
thought.
of information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, think about it. And that's where what's the term? It's like, yeah, accredited. Like you need like a level of legitimacy, because anyone can say that they're starting a
Right.
trainer program or like a mentorship program. And so you have to be really careful. You have to be really careful. It really
That's
stinks.
so interesting. That's actually a very helpful piece of information.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
One thing is I did add the link in the webinar chat to everyone is what I tried to do, but y'all know how bad I am at this. So if you go to the webinar chat, that link should be there. And I think I also put it in the question A2, but I mean, again,
We'll send it
struggles.
out. We'll
So
send
if
it out.
Yes. Aly, thank you for doing that. And then, so unfortunately I don't have the everyone. So if there are other links, I'll just send it to you guys. And then if you do exactly what you did, it made it to everyone. So that was really, really helpful. Thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah, feel free. Okay, so here's the second question. Bo, there's a boy named Bo, and he is tall enough that his front paws and inquisitive nose is reaching the top of my counter, the kitchen counter. Positive reinforcement with a treat when he stays sitting is not exactly working, because he sits, gets the treat, and then when mama turns their back around, he's up on the counter. That's a sneaky boy.
Yeah.
I would appreciate any additional suggestions here.
Oh, counter surfing. Counter surfing, again, where dogs put their paws up on the counter and then they surf around to see what they can get, whether it's just sniffs, specks of crumbs, or the jackpot of, yep, you turn your back and boom, they got it.
I got a
Which
chicken.
that is tough, because man, they do that once, they do that one time, they're gonna try 100 more times. Like they are gonna pray every day.
My dog ate the whole top of a lasagna.
No,
Why?
no.
Entire
yeah.
top of
Oh,
a
yeah.
lasagna. I set it out to cool.
Yeah.
Show it the kids. No lasagna top.
Yeah.
Yeah. So counter surfing is actually one of the topics that I cover extensively. And not to like keep pushing my book, but I do talk about how to change your environment to reduce the likelihood that your dog will get a win when they do counter surfing. My book is called Manage It: Hacks for Improving Your Dog's Behavior. And because keeping your dog out of the kitchen is one of the most important first steps, because exactly like you said, you can't be training 24/7. All it takes is for you to turn your back for a second. And the more that they do it, the more that they're going to do it. So we want to be able to keep them out of the kitchen. And even if you have a beautiful open floor plan, there are ways to do longer gates, or you can tether your dog during when you're cooking or doing meal times. Because if you can't be actively training and supervising, then they just can't be in the environment, at least while it is much worse during this adolescent phase. I don't know how old Bo is, but up until between 2 and 3 years old, it can be really, really bad. I do want to mention this kind of, if we zoom out a little bit, dogs are scavengers. And so it makes sense that they would be up and sniffing around and scavenging. So if you can try to give your dog ample opportunities to scavenge away from the counter and at other times. I know somebody who, when they increased their dog's sniffing enrichment, gave more food puzzles, snuffle mats, and other opportunities to sniff and seek and search, the counter surfing reduced dramatically. Another thing to consider is, I knew somebody that when they started feeding their dog lunch, the counter surfing reduced dramatically because the dog was just hungry. So they saw the counter surfing increase in the second half of the day before dinner. So that's where it can be really beneficial to just like zoom out a little bit and take this big picture approach of like, why is my dog doing it? Probably because they get stuff, but what need is this possibly meeting, and how can I manage the environment to prevent it? And then maybe also reduce their desire to do it overall.
That's a really great answer. Because they're not being naughty, they're just being dogs.
They're just being dogs. And that, I mean, man, that's like the number one way where the human world and the dog world are just so at odds because gosh, yes, of course. They're like there's and the kitchen is full of smells and they can get reinforced for it. So when a behavior is reinforced, it means that the dog is going to keep doing it. And sometimes just the opportunity to smell all the novel food smells up there is reinforcing enough, even if they're not getting food. So it is a really tricky behavior, and so it can totally be reduced with some environmental changes and some increased enrichment at other times. Oh, and sorry, one last point with that. Love that you're thinking of sitting as an alternative behavior that you're rewarding. Remember, standing is great too. So you're absolutely right. When a dog is sitting, they go from sitting to bouncing up really quickly, or maybe they've learned the behavior of sit and then jump on the counter. But standing, if you just catch your dog standing, that's also incompatible to jumping. So you catch them standing, you toss a treat away, they learn that all the treats come from away from the counter, and then they're more likely to be successful because they're going to probably be standing more frequently than they're sitting.
Smart. Okay, great. Let's see here. This number 3 question, it says, how do I decrease my dog's reactivity when encountering a surprise dog behind a fence?
Oh,
Right? Because that's surprise.
Yeah, that startle factor is tough. And you know, humans are often surprised too, like, whoa. So that is just right.
Like, whoa, what's happening?
Yeah. Yeah. And Carrie, do you see this in your neighborhood do you guys have dogs behind fences or I know you're pretty, like your neighborhood's pretty spread out. You have a lot of.
yeah. It's really unfortunate. When we moved here, I mean, and for many, many years, it was really lovely to walk in our neighborhood. We are not walking our dogs right now in our neighborhood at all. Isla got attacked a couple of times. First time she got bit by a little dog that came out of nowhere. And then this Great Pyrenees was just constantly off leash and he kept charging. And and not that there's anything wrong with the Great Pyrenees, but we've just had a lot of
larger dog that you just,
yeah. And then the other real problem is that there's probably 5 neighbors that let their dogs run the fence line.
Yep.
Even baby Fritz, I could see him starting to change.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that he was beginning to kind of get ready for it. He was sort of reacting. I don't know what they're saying to him, but it's nothing good.
Right.
And
well, yeah.
So we're not walking in our neighborhood anymore, which is so, we load up and go someplace else to go for a walk.
Yeah, no, I totally feel that. And you're smart too. If walks are not being positive and productive and meeting both your dog's needs and your needs, and they're causing more stress, then if possible, it can definitely be beneficial to just do it elsewhere or find alternative enrichment and exercise activities. That being said, even if you went to a different neighborhood, or those of you who are trying to avoid triggers, that type of thing, the startle will always happen, whether it's somebody around a corner or the dog at the fence. That like, whoa, can happen anywhere. So this is where your pre-trained cues are going to be really helpful. So whether that's like a let's go cue or a what's called a positive interrupter, where you're moving away and you're just saying "Bup, bup, 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 bup," to encourage your dog to move away. Once your dog is engaging with another dog behind a fence, you just got to get out of there. The quickest, that is not a training opportunity. That is not a positive learning opportunity. That is not the time to stop and try to calm your dog down. You just want to get out of there as quickly as possible and help your dog recover. And you're going to be able to get out more quickly if you have some pre-trained, let's get out of here cues.
Right.
So you're saying at home, train the noise you were just making and train let's go, because they'll know then what that means.
That means we're engaging with this.
Yeah.
Totally. And essentially it means like, I'm going this way, come with me. And what people don't realize is the stuff that you do at home, the training you do is so valuable out in the world. And you might think, no, my dog is only reactive out of the house. So like I have to train out of the house. Well, the skills that you need your dog to do around other dogs, whether that's look at you, whether that's look away from the dog, whether that's follow you, whether that's respond to a hand target, like whatever behaviors you're asking for in the really challenging circumstances of being around other dogs or triggers or something that startled them, they have to be really well practiced and built in easier environments. And that's what's going to help your dog be able to respond in those moments where your dog is like, whoa. And they're going to be more likely to access those skills if they are really, really well practiced.
That's interesting because, okay, so I have a healer.
Mhm.
He's half healer, half border collie, and he's kind of an anomaly. So actually a pretty chill guy. But
Yeah.
when we go on a walk, there's this one section of fence that there's a Malinois there that hates us, and he's almost always out and he'll run the whole fence. And usually, I can see why like get ready. And then he looks at the dog and he looks at me and he bumps me with his nose. That's his like
Wow. Yeah, it's tell. Nice.
he goes like, "Is it okay?" And I'm like, "It's
Yeah.
fine. It's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay." And he goes on. And anytime he gets startled, because there's a couple shepherds on our run too, he'll kind of look at me and go, bump, bump.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
his little way. Even at home, if I'm stressed out or if something's going on, he bumps instead of
Yeah.
to he heard. He's like, I think we've got him into nose bumping instead of that
so
he doesn't
cute.
snap anymore. So I wonder if that's what he's doing.
Really?
I wonder if that's that's happening there.
It's probably, so it sounds like it has very often been paired with some type of stimuli, especially on walks in the environment, something he sees or something he perceives. And then that bonk is paired with some type of reinforcer, whether it's you talking to him has reinforced it, or you moving away from the thing that he is alerted to, which bonking your leg is such a lovely behavior choice in the grand scheme of things that a dog could do,
It doesn't bother me. I just
it's
am
really
like, that's
cute.
interesting that he does it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to take up time. I'm
No,
just
it was
processing
good. Yeah.
the nose
Well,
bump.
and that's, I mean, you've essentially accidentally trained what a lot of us aim for and what I aim for with my clients, which is see the thing and do the behavior, and then I'll give you a reward for it. So whether the behavior is just look at me, whether the behavior is, like a nose bump to the leg would be fine, a nose bump to the leash hand would be fine. Basically anything besides barking, right? Or lunging, right? But that's the goal with anything, is instead of doing the thing I don't want, do this instead. It's a really creative and cute behavior option.
It's so cute. I don't
Yeah.
know if this guy goes for the Rainbow Bridge because he is such a special guy. But I think
No.
anyway, okay, let's get back on track. About my little guy. Leash walking, because we're back on it with leash. We're still kind of on the whole walking thing. So
Yeah.
this person says that it's going great with one really big exception.
Okay.
This dog loses his ever-loving mind when we encounter another dog. So again, it's the dog thing. It's not aggressive, but everybody is like a prospective, best friend forever to have a Zumi fest with. And he has high value. We know high value treats. We dehydrate our own liver treats, which he loves, but normally could care less about in that moment. I'm just like so excited. This person says they've tried hand feeding and scattering. We know distance, if we're 100 feet away, works, but it's not really realistic in sidewalks and paths. At best, the worst strategy is to keep some of the attention and scoot the opposite way as fast as possible when he jumps and whines to follow the passerby. Like this dog really wants to engage in a happy way. And this person is saying, help.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's really tough. Anytime I hear someone has been kind of like trying the basics, so you said like scattering on the ground, great. That distance is important, which is, I just want to remind you, the closer you are, the harder it's going to be. And if you're finding yourself in environments, if you're finding that your dog is practicing this a lot and very frequently, and you're really wanting to change it, you might need to change something about where you're walking, at least temporarily, until you can get the behavior to change or start to change, and then go back to the harder environment. So walking on a trail where you're going to come in close contact with other dogs at close proximity, you can certainly still do it, but know it's going to slow your training progress. So you will have more luck finding places where you can see dogs from the distance that your dog can be successful in right now, and try the skills that you have. So whether that's a scatter on the ground, using a magnet hand, so treats in the hand to lure them past the dog, whether that's playing the 1, 2, 3 game, which is essentially just saying 1, 2, 3 and giving a treat on 3 every single time. That can be a really great way to keep your dog close to you as you pass something, whether that is just practicing like a tight, close walking behavior with eye contact, whatever your replacement behavior of choice is. You really have to find a location where your dog can be successful and rehearse that behavior instead of the unwanted behavior. Now, of course, in a pinch, if you were finding yourself in close quarters accidentally, or whatever circumstances found yourself too close to a dog, I do like what you're doing, which is essentially you're starting to move quickly past and just get past in a way and get that distance as quickly as you can. Sometimes even jogging can be really exciting, making sure you're talking to your dog, let's go, let's go, let's go, and really be the fun thing to move them past. And that gives them kind of a place to put their energy and excitement too into like running with you. If that's something you're able to do. Obviously, not everybody can run with their dog for those few steps to get away from the other dog, but you really want to think about the circumstances where your dog can be successful and start there for now. And if you're really feeling stuck, it would be good. That would be a good situation for working directly with a trainer, because we can, you know, we would be able to spot where things need to change or what else could be contributing that maybe you're not noticing.
Smart.
really
Okay.
good.
That's
Yeah.
really great. Thanks. Okay. Number 5. My puppy is not food driven.
Oh, I hear this a lot.
Mine is. I
I
wouldn't
know.
even know. What can I use for training and for alone time that would be interesting enough to be effective?
I would revisit not being food driven, meaning dogs are biologically designed to like food. And so there are a number of things that could be at play, but if your dog is really not interested in anything you offer them, I actually would be most concerned about maybe some GI stuff going on. Like maybe they don't feel good, maybe they have some stomach issues. And if you really feel like, no, there's nothing going on, I would try higher value treats. So making sure that you are using treats that are tasty and novel, stinky, squishy, and small is a nice, easy way to remember the
Yes.
types of treats you should be using. Yeah, stinky, squishy, and small. Because not obviously, it's not obvious to a lot of people, so I don't want to say that. But if you're offering your dog kind of this crunchy, boring treats, there's a lot of dogs who would say, no, thanks. Yeah. So, right. And there are a lot of dogs who wouldn't, but you want to really make sure that you're finding something that your dog will like. And I mean, usually once you start doing all of those, so investigate medical, play around with food options, and then make sure that you are feeding them the amount of food that you should be feeding them. I do not operate in like going down the path of deprivation to build food drive, but there are cases where dogs are just simply eating too much at their meals, more than the vet would recommend, and that's just impacting them not being interested in food.
Okay. Okay. Let's see here. Is there anything to help decrease barking when the human is talking to someone? Like, is there something that you can think about that? Is that,
We
I feel like
covered-
we
I think we
covered it?
covered-
I
yeah,
think
I
we
think
did.
we
Okay.
did.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going. How do I keep my 11-month-old golden from eating rocks?
Oh.
Oh, interesting.
Fritz doesn't eat rocks.
It's the one
He just wants
thing.
bark.
Oh,
I'm so glad he doesn't
And
eat rocks.
and he's not 11.
oh, okay. I was gonna say, is he and Carrie, do you see this behavior with any of your Goldens, rock eating?
None of mine, and we have a lot of rocks.
I was gonna say, yeah.
My mom's dog eats rocks. She actually pulls like flagstone pieces off of things.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I've heard this on Goldens. I've heard of some Goldens eating rocks.
Yeah.
Fritz eats bark. I mean, for sure.
Right. Which that is much more like ripping, shredding,
Yeah.
bark sticks. That's very different. Rocks is, so there's a number of things that could be happening. I don't know this dog at all. I don't know the situation at all, but what I have seen, one, some dogs learn to put rocks in their mouth because it means that human runs over and a really great game of chase ensues. So dogs have learned, I'm bored, I'm going to go grab a rock because I know you're going to come and grab it from me and I get to play keep away. And that's really fun to me. To me, that would say that your dog wants to play keep away and play with you in maybe more appropriate ways. I have seen dogs, and actually, I think this was actually a golden retriever many years ago. Man, before I knew a lot of the things I knew now, and the dog almost wasn't allowed to go out into the yard because he would go straight for the rocks. However, that created a really vicious cycle of dog not getting enough exercise, so dog becoming more obsessed with the rocks. So it was still rooted in this young dog just not getting enough exercise, enrichment, fulfillment, and going to the rocks was like a symptom of that. I would definitely also check with your vet, making sure that you're not dealing with like a eating, compulsive eating issue, or like, I don't know, I know poop eating can be related to like mineral issues or nutrient issues. Make sure that the rock eating isn't anything medical based. But as you can see by my flurry of answers, there's a bazillion things that it
can't be
could
just
be.
But I think
Yeah.
like a lot of times when I hear from people that their dogs are doing that kind of behavior, I do think often it's what you were saying earlier, increasing the amount of enrichment that they're
Yeah.
getting. Fritz he wants to go out and chew when he's a little bit bored.
Yeah,
When
totally.
he's had a satisfying morning where we've
Mm-hmm.
done some training or he gets a bully stick and a bully stick holder, he's
Mm-hmm.
much less likely to go out there and forage for a bark.
Yes.
He's happy to go lay on the grass and enjoy the sun. So, or the, sin lawn. So
Mm-hmm.
I definitely, even with him, see the correlation. And I know that with younger puppies, for sure, they really need to have that brain satisfied.
Mm-hmm. Because how old is he?
9 months.
Oh my God, you're like in the peak of adolescence. Oh yeah. No, totally. And that's where so I do want to stress to everyone that a lot of what we've said is like we are going back to like needs being met. And so exercise and mental enrichment and dog behavior outlets, chewing, sniffing, licking, digging, running around, chasing, shredding, destroying, being dogs. And dogs under 2 to 3 years old have a lot of needs, and maybe even more than you're realizing or that you feel like you're able to meet. But a lot of misbehavior and what we label as problem behaviors is rooted in dogs not having their needs met. So I know we keep going back to that, but it's true. And Carrie, I know you've said you've seen this with Fritz, that when you have this general, like, his day to day is just more spent trying to meet his needs and prevent boredom while also making sure he gets plenty of rest. Like, you're just seeing a lot of of behaviors that might be labeled as like problematic or unwanted go away. And yeah.
And it's interesting too, like, because I have Harper is 8 and Rufus is 7. So I have these two older dogs that I will notice they will play with him and they'll do all the things. And then they are ready to just chill. Like they have their whole cadence to their day and
Yep.
he's still ready to go.
Yep.
Oh, and that is a time I see barking too, where he'll just come
Yeah.
stand in front of them and bark at them.
Mhm.
And Rufus is like, would you go
Yeah.
away, you annoying. And so that's such a clue for me, like, oh, he needs something right now. He's
Yeah.
looking for it from Rufus. Doesn't want to, so I've got to give Rufus what he needs, which is just peace and quiet. And then I gotta
Totally.
take Fritz and get him something that he needs, Fritzy.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think, like, what if I didn't have Rufus and Harper to help me understand
Like
Fritz?
realize.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like I wouldn't be able to see those differences in energy level the way that I can by having these two older dogs. So it's just been fascinating. I have learned so much with this teenager of mine.
Yep.
Yeah, totally.
Um, I posted that video. I don't have a clue how to get this video on the screen, you guys.
Okay.
So, so I posted it and I really wanted to hear because, and I'll just give the backstory here. I posted this
Yeah.
video today of Fritz. So it was the three of them out on the putting green, and Harper was just laying there, and Fritz and Rufus were wrestling and playing, and Fritz was very vocal because he's Mr. Vocal. And a lot of people will ask me, they feel very nervous watching these videos. They feel like, are they about to get in a fight? It looks like somebody's got their hair up. Like, people micro assess everything. And so I was really hoping to get the video up so you could give us your assessment of it. I don't know if you just want to talk it through.
So I
without-
think I'm trying
Playing too.
right
like,
now and very quickly.
it's like, what's too rough? What's
Yeah.
aggressive? What's normal?
Let me, I think I'm like 1 second from image and tab. I think okay. So I think I can get this up for us to, no, I can't. So close.
Like,
Are you a wizard?
I mean, what I'm thinking of doing right now is opening my phone and holding it up.
I don't think we need to do that. I think I can. Let me just make sure that you guys wouldn't see like too much.
Liam,
Oh, wait.
you to help us. It's all of her app building skills.
That's what it is.
It's translated.
And she's also
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, let me see if this works, if I can share my screen, because I do think this would be interesting to watch. You're going to have to approve it.
Share,
Yep.
allow multiple presenters to share. Allow.
Thank you. All right, let's, oh, huh. Screens. Let me see. Okay. You know, I might just do this really fast. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. This will be worth it.
Stop being patient, everyone. We're gonna give you a little treat.
Yeah, quick treat.
Treat.
Look at something's happening.
Oh, something's.
Oh, she
yay,
did it.
She did.
Okay.
Can you guys
Can you
all
see this?
that? I can see it.
I can see it.
All right, let me make it nice and big for us. Okay. And before I even start the video, I do want to ask you, Carrie, who is involved in these two? Who's playing in this video?
It's Fritz and Rufus are playing, and Harper is kind of chilling in the front.
Okay.
And
And who's on the bottom here?
Rufus.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So before we watch this video, we're going to talk about, because the question was who, or how do you know, like when it's too rough, like you'll hear these two are vocalizing, and how do you know when it's like tipping over to aggression? Because that can happen in play where they're having fun, and then oops, somebody gets their feelings hurt and doesn't want to keep going or makes a big loud stop what you're doing noise. But what's really important is to know the dog. It is much easier when you know the two dogs who are participating. So obviously, Carrie, you have a level of comfort watching these two because you know what Rufus feels comfortable with. You probably know Fritz's play style and what he is likely or unlikely to do. And that makes a huge difference. Like if these were two dogs at the dog park, I probably would intervene much sooner because you don't know the temperaments. You don't know the other dog. But obviously you have a comfort level with them that you felt totally fine letting this play out.
Yeah. And I will say, this was probably the most vocal I've heard Fritz in play. So I was definitely, is why I was videoing it, because I thought, okay, you know, and I was watching really closely to see if I saw anything that caused me concern. Part of what I was watching was Harper. You know, I was watching her reaction to it also. So, I mean, it was a different level. They were at a different level of play, and I was definitely paying closer attention.
Yeah. And
males.
right, which is, again, that's a factor that you want to keep track of. So in general, before, again, we watch this, I want to see dogs taking breaks, because the longer they go without taking breaks and kind of the more tangled up they get, the more likely they can be to tip over into aggression. You do want to make sure that any dog who's on the bottom or seems to be the one that's like, is not the one on the top, basically. You want to always look for tails, because if we've got a tuck tail, that could indicate that the dog on the bottom is not actually having fun at all. And we see that a lot where a dog gets trapped underneath and everybody thinks it's just rough and tumble, but no, that dog underneath is really not having fun. So we can go ahead and watch this and I'll tell you what I'm seeing. So hopefully you all can hear that. You might not, I don't know if I activated sound, but there's a lot of growling happening. And I do see Rufus, who's on the bottom. I do see his tail out. So there, though, and this is right here, we see Rufus come out from underneath and move away. And my question is always, is that okay because they want to be chased, or are they trying to get away, but we can't tell because the other dog's right on top of them? So you're going to see Rufus get out and then try to get away. But his tail's still up, and they are pretty, there's a lot of movement. It's not too stiff and tense. And then Harper says, "What's going on over here?" Which was nice because it caused a mini break. Here, I like that they are, there's like actually a decent amount of space between them. They're facing each other, but we see tails are up. I can see everybody's body really clearly, which is helpful to me. And then this break, great. I'm really happy to see that. If these were dogs, if Carrie at any point you were uncomfortable, if these were dogs I didn't know, and even if they weren't taking a break, I would cue a break. Even if I just, you know, shook the treat bag from across the yard, treats, everybody come get treats, to cue them to take a break. But they did a break, and then we see this shake off, which that's still Rufus on the right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that shake off, dogs will shake off after just regular interactions, but a shake off afterwards is kind of like a, whew, that was a lot, you know? Now that could be a lot of like, wow, keeping up with the youngins is a lot. Or it could be like, man, this youngin is really feeling himself today. He's a little too much for me today. So it's just data, that shake off, but we like to see that shake off. And now they're kind of, it actually looks like Fritz is doing a good job. Rufus on the right here did not immediately jump back into play, and Fritz actually did a pretty good job at listening that. And Rufus must have done something to cue to, oh yeah, good, that cue to Fritz that he was done playing for that moment. And that could have been the shake off. It could have just been him looking away. Dogs are talking with their bodies all day long with these very subtle glances to each other, posturing, weight shifting, all of that influences the communication that they're having.
Interesting.
So good.
I
So-
love it.
I know, I do too. It's really fun to see it through
Fascinating.
your
I
eyes.
love that. That was awesome.
Too, that I don't know that I do things like I mean, I watch them do this every single morning, and there are many mornings where I'm like, I think we kind of need to take a little break. And
Yep.
I don't even know that that's a thing, but I just feel like,
Mhm.
oh, there's a lot of energy right now. Let's just, and then all
Yes.
take the treat jar. Everybody comes, runs over. We play a
Yeah.
game, just sitting, and then I try to like do little things or whatever, and then I let them go again.
Yep.
But it does break up that cadence for them, and that seems to give like offload the energy, which is really helpful to them.
Absolutely. One of the best signs of healthy play is taking breaks. And again, most savvy dogs will take breaks on their own and best matched dogs, but adolescents are not going to be good at taking breaks for themselves, meaning they're just going to go, 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 go. And that whether that upsets the other dog or gets them to the point where they're so aroused and overtired that they make really bad decisions or they start fights, that can be the case. So yes, taking breaks every once in a while, every few minutes can be really, really good to make sure that everybody stays having fun.
What's your favorite way to do? Because a lot of like, let's say I'll have like a Nicholberry family that's driving to Southern California, and they want to go see a litter mate, or maybe they just want to see, they've met each other on Instagram and they want to get their dogs together. Two dogs that, let's just say, don't know each other. What's your
Yeah.
favorite way, adult over 1 year of age? What's your favorite way to have? How do you feel about that? What would you recommend those families do for a play date for the dogs?
If those dogs really, if they have a history of being social with other dogs and having dog friends, and there's no reason to think that there would be any issues, then off leash into a yard pretty much right away is usually going to be fine because they're not restricted by leashes to cause extra tension, and they're able to get moving and kind of get their wiggles out and shake it off and get into a play again without the tension of leashes. If there's any concern that maybe one dog's a little nervous or one dog's a little reactive or one dog doesn't like all other dogs, then a nice parallel walk is a really great option to start, meaning you meet out on the sidewalk, you go for a nice long walk together, both dogs get opportunities to sniff and check each other out, and then once they're more acclimated, then they can spend time off leash in an open space.
Okay, and I think this leads to a good question is how do you feel about dog parks as a way to socialize?
As a way to socialize, they are not my favorite. Dog parks come with a lot of risk, health risk and behavior risks. Unfortunately, you just have no idea about the vaccination status of the dogs in the park. You don't know anything about the temperament of the dogs in the park. So definitely, absolutely not, never, no way for a puppy, any dog under 6 months. Very, very, very risky. You risk having a really negative, unpleasant, overwhelming experience, which could cause reactivity and aggression later in life. All of that being said, I do understand that there are some areas where dog parks are the only place where your dog can get off leash time. So, like New York City, people really rely on dog parks to get their dog exercise. And there are not all dog parks are created equal. I actually really can like neighborhood dog parks where the dogs know each other, the people know each other. The risk of dog parks is when your dog is interacting with a lot of unknown dogs. It's when you have the opportunity for your dog to build relationships with the dogs that they're playing with and they're spending time with, where they actually can't be so bad. So, you just want to be really mindful of the behavior your dog is practicing, the behavior you see from other dogs, from other people. People can be really irresponsible, can be really inappropriate at dog parks. So there's a lot to consider. there are some trainers who have blanket statements, absolutely not, they're all terrible. I don't feel that way, but I do want people to be very, very cautious and thoughtful when choosing to go to a dog park.
Okay, I know we're kind of counting down. We only have about 7 or 8 minutes left, 5 minutes left now, which I always feel like it goes so fast.
Yeah.
But there's a couple questions I think that are about leash, like how one person was asking about how to stop pulling on the leash, and another person was asking about they have a Brittany Spaniel who's a bird dog, and they want to sniff every single thing that's out there. So, and they're already using a blue 9 balance harness and a 2-point control leash. It's helping, but they still pull. So both of those questions were about pulling and leash. Comments about that?
Yeah, a few thoughts on that. One is that when dogs are on, the standard leash is 6 feet. And Kiki Ablon, my friend and colleague who we just spoke about with barking, her a quote that I love from her is that we put dogs on 6-foot leashes and then walk them 7 feet from everything that they want to interact with. So of course they're going to pull. So one solution that can help a lot right off the bat is get yourself a longer leash, 8 feet or 10 feet, depending on the size of your dog. I walk my Chihuahua on an 8-foot leash, and it feels like a normal leash length to us. So for a bigger dog, I'd probably go 10 feet, but that's a really nice leash length because it's not unmanageable where you're having to keep track of a lot of leash, but it gives your dog just that extra space to move around. The 2-point leashes, depending on the length, like the Freedom harness comes with a 2-point leash, meaning it clips in the front and the back. I actually think that makes your life harder because the leash is so short. And especially if you have a dog who's young or is a breed that really needs to stretch their legs, like that's going to be frustrating for both of you. So I like to give a longer leash, give a little bit more freedom. And then to answer the other question of how do I stop pulling, I want you to reframe that and think, okay, instead of saying, how do I stop pulling? How do I get and reward the behavior I want instead? What is a behavior that replaces pulling? Well, staying close enough to you that there's slack in the leash. Most of us don't care what side our dog walks on, or we certainly don't need them walking in a perfect heel, but we need them close enough that they're slack in the leash. So if you get a longer leash, that's going to give them more opportunities for success because they have more space where there will still be slack in the leash. And then, of course, rewarding those check-ins. If your dog does start to get locked in on something and start pulling, just redirect their attention back to you and reward them. Make all the rewards come from close to you, so they're more likely to kind of hang close to you. And really start those skills at home, too. They really can't overstate how helpful it can be to do your training at home. And we do have in the app Dog Training Plus, the app that I spoke about at the beginning, there's a whole loose leash walking section that really talks about this, which again, not to push my stuff, but it's like I do from the start, like I talk about this background stuff. I say, this is where you start. This is where you go next. This is how you apply it to outside. So because doing it systematically can also help.
Yeah, I think like that, and I just was looking to see if there were other questions like, is 3-year-old too old to train a Bernedoodle to walk on a leash and not jump on my friends or bark? But it's the same thing. It's going back to what you're saying. Like that has to start at home where there's just not any distractions, because to try and do that out there in the world, you're setting them up for failure. You're setting yourself up for frustration.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even with like baby puppies, right? You can teach that loose leash walking, but you don't even have a leash because they want to be right next to you anyhow. And so you're reinforcing that.
Yes.
Right. And so there's so much that can be done at home that needs to be done at home before you go out there.
Yeah, I want people to think about, you were talking about learning piano earlier, or like taking piano lessons again. Like, imagine if you were trying to learn piano in front of a concert hall full of people. Like that level of distraction is often when we're out in the world where we're trying to actually teach. And it's like, no, 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 no. We have to teach these skills at home. You need to be able to learn your piano in the quiet classroom with the teacher, and then slowly build up to being able to give small concerts and then bigger concerts and then bigger ones, because man, that level of distraction and challenging environment is just not optimal for learning.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good
That's
example.
a good point.
Yeah.
She brought that all the way back around.
All the way back.
I know.
I know.
We're out of time.
We are out of time.
I know,
Gosh,
crazy.
I can talk to you just like all day.
I know, and I
asking
bet you could too.
Yeah.
So we're sorry that we have to end it with you, but man,
Yeah, thank you so much though.
Fascinating.
And will you just hold up your book?
Yeah,
I mean,
hold
like,
it up.
Oh gosh, thanks.
I just
Sure.
want to
Sure.
make sure people see.
Boom, manage it.
It's so
Yep.
good. It's so
Thank you.
accessible. It's very easy to understand. I would say that it's for a dog of any age. I mean, like that is a great resource to have in your library. And then at JW Dog Training is your Instagram account. And
Yeah,
then
tons of tips on Instagram, lots of free stuff.
your app.
Is called, what is your
Thank
app?
you. Dog Training Plus,
Dog
just the little
Training
plus sign on the end. Yep. Yeah, and it's, I have it all over my Instagram. Like, and if somehow the link is not found, you DM me and I will send you all the information for, virtual consultation, help you troubleshoot specifically with your dog app, the book, whatever. I'll send it.
And
I'll send it.
so many people will, I'll just say as my parting thing, I get a lot of DMs like, hey, my dog is doing X and what should I do? And I'm like, oh gosh, there's a
Yeah.
million pieces of context in the question you're
Yes.
and I can't possibly, first off, I'm not a dog trainer, so I'm going to stay in my lane. But, a virtual consultation with you will allow them to tell them all the context and for you to strategize together for some useful, plans moving forward. So I refer you all the time. And
I know. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And I do want to piggyback on that and just note to everyone, also as a dog trainer, I can't ethically, I know I've given like a lot of advice today, but it's very general. Like I can't, if you DM me, like I'm having this problem, I know I'm, like you said, I'm always funneling you to like our other services, but I can't ethically give advice to somebody who isn't my client because of how many missing pieces there could be. There could be a pain component, and I'm trying to give you training that could actually harm your dog if I don't know more. So we just want to keep everybody safe and happy and give responsible information out online.
yes. So, all right. Well, go enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you.
Thank you so much. So nice to meet you, Aly, and so nice to see you again, Carrie. Thank you.
All
Okay.
right. Have a great day.
Bye, guys. Thanks for being here.
Bye, guys. Sorry we couldn't do the rest of your questions, everybody, but hopefully we answered as much.
We'll do a part 2.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hey, I
that's a
wouldn't
good
be sad
idea.
about it.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
All righty. And then Carrie just
End.
hit end.
Yep.
You know us, we're not the best.
In
End
for all.
webinar for all.